Hello, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Audie Jake, and this is Autistic Reviews, a series where I review media on the basis of how good it is representation-wise. Today, we are going to be taking a look at a children's book called Why Johnny Doesn't Flap, NT is Okay. Flap is referring to hand flapping, a stim that can be common among autistic people, in which the autistic person rapidly flaps their hands back and forth. And NT stands for neurotypical. The book was written by Clay Morton and Gail Morton, and the illustrations were done by Alex Mary. The book is about an autistic boy explaining how his friend Johnny is so different from him, and how that's okay. The book isn't that long, so I'm going to read it to you. This is my friend Johnny. We have a lot of fun together, but sometimes he acts pretty strangely. Mom says it is because he is NT, or neurotypical. He doesn't have autism, so his brain works differently from mine, but that's okay. Johnny is supposed to come to my house at 4, but sometimes he comes at 3:58 or 4:03. I gave him a watch for his birthday to help him arrive on time, but he still has this problem. He may be hopeless when it comes to punctuality, but we still get to spend time together and have fun, so that's okay. When he comes into the house, sometimes he wants to play checkers first, and then play crazy eights. Sometimes he wants to play crazy eights first. He doesn't know how to follow the same order every day, but we still get to play all our favorite games, so that's okay. When he talks to you, Johnny looks directly into your eyes, which can make you pretty uncomfortable. He doesn't mean any harm, though. That's just the way he is, and that's okay. Johnny watches the same television shows that I do, but he never recites the opening credits word for word. In fact, I'm not even sure he has them memorized. He sure picks funny things to focus on, but that's okay. When something unexpected happens, Johnny doesn't respond like you would expect. He doesn't flap his arms or jump up and down. He just moves the side of his mouth up and slightly widens his eyes. Maybe he doesn't know much about how to express emotions, but that's okay. Johnny doesn't have a topic that he knows everything about, like World War II or dinosaurs or hydraulic forklifts. I try to share in-depth information with him, but he seems uninterested. He may never be a real expert at anything, but he is a good person, so that's okay. Johnny functions very well at school. He understands the rules and gets all of his work done. But if you ask him for basic information about the school building, like what companies manufactured the elevator, intercom, and security system, he will stare at you blankly. He understands some things, but has trouble with other things. That's true of all of us, and that's okay. Johnny never has a meltdown when disasters happen, like a fire drill or class being canceled. He is afraid of what people might think. It seems he is bottling his feelings up, but he just has his own way of dealing with his feelings, and that's okay. Johnny has problems with communication. He will say that a math test was a piece of cake, when he really means that it was easy. I try to explain to him that cake has nothing to do with an easy math test, but he never seems to understand that he should say what he means. I can always figure out his strange statements eventually, so that's okay. On the playground, Johnny always wants to play with other kids. He never goes off into his own world. Sometimes I wonder if he ever gets a chance to sit and think about his favorite commercials or the recorded message on the subway. Maybe he's a little too obsessed with social interaction. but that's okay. It can be pretty interesting being friends with a kid who is NT. He has a lot of quirks that can be very frustrating until you get used to them. Mom says that everyone's brain is different, and different isn't always wrong. I like Johnny, and I think that being NT is okay. There's also a really cool note at the end of the book here that says, "A note to parents." Johnny, the child in this book, is a neurotypical or NT child. What does this mean? Neurotypical children lack most or all characteristics of autism. Like Johnny, they are overly flexible in their routines, if they even have a routine, and have a strong need to socialize with other people. They speak in nonsensical idioms, do not have obsessive interests, and almost never engage in stimming. That's very interesting, you may say. But what does that have to do with my child? According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, as many as 67 in 68 children may be neurotypical. So if your child does not currently have an NT kid in their life, they almost certainly will at some point. And what will this be like when it happens? Children with autism often find it difficult to interact with NTs. Their chattiness, unpredictability, and bizarre ways of thinking can be bewildering and irritating. But it is important for autistic young people to understand that NTs are people too, and the fact that they are different doesn't mean that there is anything wrong with them. In this book, we see that the narrator has problems relating to Johnny. He is never exactly on time, varies his rituals, looks directly into people's eyes, never has meltdowns, speaks cryptically, and never gets lost in his own world. But the narrator still likes Johnny in spite of his quirks. He has a lot of fun with Johnny, and as strange as it may sound, it's possible that he can even learn a thing or two from Johnny's unique perspective. As you read this book with your child, ask them if they ever observe these kinds of behaviors in other children. Talk about what they should do when certain awkward situations arise with an NT child. Above all, help them to understand that the differences between people make life interesting, and that being NT is okay. Quite frankly, I think that this book is amazing. It takes the typical explaining autism to a neurotypical child thing that many pieces of autism-related media does, and completely flips it around. I love so much how the entire book is told from the autistic kid's perspective. This is probably the only time I've seen something like this done, where it goes into how different neurotypicals are from the autistic perspective. And this book perfectly captures the feeling of just how utterly confusing us autistic people can find neurotypicals a lot of the time. I especially like the line about the autistic kid thinking that Johnny is bad at communicating because he never says what he means. I find this super relatable because I've often wished that neurotypical people would just say what they mean. Overall, this is an amazing children's book, and I honestly feel like every autistic child could benefit from this book. If you're a parent to an autistic child, or maybe you're a teacher who has autistic children, and you're looking for books for your children, I would highly recommend getting this one. I'm going to leave links to where you can buy the book in the description of this video if anyone is interested. What do you think about this book? Are you planning on buying it? Let me know in the comments down below. Until next time, goodbye.